I'm going to get into why I think Return of the Jedi is overrated. Now, let me get this started because I don't want to be too negative. I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. However, I just think it is overrated and it isn't on the level of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back for reasons I'm going to go through in this video. Now, I hope you enjoy and let's get straight into it. Now, I'm going to start off with my biggest problem with the movie, and that's that I feel that Han Solo's character gets slightly wasted, if not quite wasted, in this movie. Now, obviously, he's great in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. However, Return of the Jedi, I just don't think he played a massive role. Obviously, he played a bit of a role. However, compared to like Leia and Luke in this movie, Han really felt like it's not a trio, it's a duo kind of thing. I don't know how to put it. I just feel like I don't remember too much of Han in this movie. I mean, the most I remember of Han is when he accidentally hit Boba Fett, which I'll get into because that's another scene I don't really like in this movie. However, Han doesn't really do too much. I guess he does a bit on Endor. However, he doesn't really do much as Leia and Endor, and I don't really think he gets a true character arc. I mean, he gets a good ending, but it's not a great ending. It's not like Luke's ending, not like Leia's ending. It is just an alright good ending, and I just think they slightly wasted his character, which I just think they could have done a bit better. Am I saying Han Solo's a bad character in this movie? No, I'm not. Am I saying I don't love Han Solo? Of course not. I love Han Solo. However, I just think they could have done a lot more with Han in this movie, and I think they wasted him slightly. I'm gonna talk about the Tatooine part of the movie. I just think it's alright. I don't think it's anything really special. It's just not my favourite part of the movie at all. I think it drags too much, it's a bit too long, and it's just not the most exciting for me. Obviously, maybe people disagree with me. However, I just feel like it's a bit too long. It's a little bit boring, and it's just alright. And it's just not to the standard of like the Hot Hoth in Empire Strikes Back, or even like a Coruscant in Revenge of the Sith. It's just not on that level of start. I think it has quite a slow start, even though we're starting off with something exciting. We're supposed to be starting off with something really exciting, and it's just, in my opinion, alright. I don't think it's anything too special. I just think, yeah, it's alright. I mean, maybe people, you can disagree with this. However, I just feel like, especially Han hitting Boba Fett while blind, and that, well, at the time, you think kills Boba Fett, which I'm glad they brought him back, because that would have been like a terrible way for him to die, for his character to go off like that. And I'm glad they just brought him back, because he shouldn't have died like that. It should have been something a bit more than that. Even like Luke cutting him in half with a lightsaber would be better than that. I just think at the time, Boba Fett dying like that was a bit disappointing, because he was so cool in Empire Strikes Back, and then we see him here and he's just in a Sarlacc pit, and that's how he died. Well, until he got brought back. Now I'm gonna get onto the Ewoks and Endor, and I just feel like the Empire doesn't feel strong. In most of the best things we've seen, Empire looks strong within the original timeline. Andor, the Empire is so strong, it's incredible. Empire Strikes Back, it is really strong. Even in New Hope, they've got a planet killer. Obviously they have a planet killer here, however, it just doesn't give off that same vibe and energy as them three I've just mentioned, and it just feels like the Empire is a bit weaker in this movie. Like, getting defeated by Ewoks, I don't hate the Ewoks as much as other people, but I just think they shouldn't have that easily been able to outsmart the Empire and the Stormtroopers. I feel like you can have the Ewoks win, but I don't think you can have the Ewoks win in the manner they did. I just think it is a bit strange. Endor, however, I didn't mind it as much as other people. I definitely don't like. I definitely prefer this part of the movie than Tatooine. I'm a lot more entertained in this part of the movie compared to Tatooine. Obviously, in Endor, we get to see Luke and Leia, a brother and sister, which is a good part of the movie if you just don't think about Empire Strikes Back. And obviously Leia tells Han this after the Death Star gets exploded, and Han, I don't think he said a word after. He was just shocked. That was quite a good way to wrap up the love triangle, I guess. And obviously it did kind of, I mean, I guess Was it Empire Strikes Back where Obi-Wan said there was another? I guess maybe George Lucas already had this idea, but I just think the idea of Leia and Luke kissing is just a bit, it will always be strange. I know that's another movie, but obviously this movie does play a part because this is the movie that made them brother and sister. However, I'm not going to get into that anymore. And Endor, I think it's very cool seeing the Ewoks at times, but I just don't think, I think the Empire were a bit too weak. And as we've seen in Andor, Empire Strikes Back, and New Hope, they look so much weaker in Return of the Jedi. It is quite drastic, in my opinion, how big the difference is. But let me know, do you think the Ewoks should have won that comfortably? I mean, I'm not too sure how smart the Ewoks were. Someone can let me know on that. But I'm guessing they must have been quite smart, but still, because they obviously, in fairness, they did track all of the rebels, and obviously there is that. However, I just feel like they shouldn't have been able to outsmart the Empire while fighting them. I mean, I guess they already had like traps laid out there, which would have played a big part. And actually, a couple of the Ewoks do die. I feel like this part of the movie, I think, gets overhated sometimes. However, I don't think it is the greatest part in Star Wars. I will give the movie its credit. I think this part is good. However, I do think there is flaws, but at the same time, I would go into it as harshly as some other people would. Now, I know this is similar to the start of the video, and it might seem that I'm nitpicking a bit. However, I do feel like maybe if Han flew the Millennium Falcon into the fight with the Empire, with the Death Star and all that, maybe this is me nitpicking, and obviously I did that with Boba Fett, the way Boba Fett died. However, I just feel like this would have been good for Han's character. All three characters are doing something different, instead of having Luke away and Leia and Han doing similar things. I just feel like maybe, because obviously Han's a main character, Lando's not as important of a character to get right as Han, and I do think it's nice he is flying the Millennium Falcon, but I just feel like all three of them should have been split up and they all should have came together in the end, but Leia and Han never really left each other, which maybe that's how they wanted to do it, to start a relationship between, well, it was already started, but to kind of really finish it off, and yeah, but maybe that's how they wanted to do it. However, I just feel like it could have been done in a slightly better way, but maybe this part is me nitpicking. But yeah, I'm gonna get into my final thoughts. Now, my final thoughts are that I love this movie and I think it's a great movie. However, I just think it's overrated. I don't think it's on the level of the other two in the original trilogy. And would I have it in my top 5 Star Wars movies? I probably would. Don't get it twisted. I probably would have it in my top 5 Star Wars movies, but I probably wouldn't have it in top 3. I do love this movie. It is a classic, and it always will be a classic. However, I just think there are flaws to the movie, and I feel like if it maybe came out in a bit more of a modern time, it would have got criticized a lot more. Like, even if it came out in the 2000s, like the prequels, or the 2010s, like the sequels, it would have got criticized a lot more. However, I still don't think even if it gets criticized, I still don't think that makes it a bad movie. I still think it is one of the best Star Wars movies. Don't come out this video thinking I don't like Return of the Jedi. I love Return of the Jedi. I just don't think it's on that level of Empire Strikes Back and New Hope. And I think a lot of Star Wars fans will agree on this. However, I know some people have Return of the Jedi as their favourite movie. They love the part with Luke and Vader, which, don't get me wrong, I love that. I love that scene. It's one of my favourite scenes in Star Wars, that whole part of Vader saving Luke. And even if you look back, Vader saving Luke from the dark side with not killing the Emperor, and how you can see how the Emperor has twisted Vader over the years to do whatever he wants and to do his bidding. And that is a great part of the movie. I love that part. However, I just think there are other flaws to the movie that some people sometimes don't speak about. But I just don't want you to come out of this video and think that I don't like Return of the Jedi and I'm very negative about Return of the Jedi, because that's not the case. I've always loved this movie. However, I just don't think it's on the level of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. And I think a lot of people, even watching it in the 80s, will agree. I mean, I don't know, but I do think that people will agree with this opinion. I don't think everyone agrees. Obviously, not everyone's going to agree with you on anything. However, I just think, for the reasons I went through in this video, I just think Return of the Jedi is a bit overrated. It's a great movie. I think, yeah, that's just my final thoughts. And I'm going to wrap up this video now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, a comment. If you're not subscribed, please do. And yeah, I'm sorry for not posting recently. I've had really big problems with my phones. I've had to go back to an old phone, which is much slower and doesn't work at half as well as my old one. And a whole video pretty much got corrupted because of this that was supposed to post last week. However, I'm going to try to get back on track with the uploads now. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you later.